Hello, my name is Rick English. This video is going to show you how to draw a freeform pool using nothing but hand tools. Why use hand tools? Doesn't everyone use a computer? Let me answer those questions after I tell you a little bit more about myself. My present business is called English Pool Consulting. Not very creative, but it works. Attorneys hire me for pool construction cases, pool safety cases, pool maintenance cases. The state of California hires me occasionally to analyze consumer complaints. I also do teaching for the National Swimming Pool Foundation, the Association of Pool and Spa Professionals. I teach about 5 courses in total over the course of a year. And I do close of escrow pool inspections for people buying homes with a pool that want a separate pool inspection. I don't sell anything except time, so I do designs, work in progress reviews, insurance claims, compliance recommendations, contested patents. Who knows what the future will be? I guess basically I'll do anything around a pool, except build it. I know this is too much information. That's enough about me. Why learn how to draw pools using hand tools? The high-end pool. Many educational opportunities focus on the, quote, high-end pool. Pools that can cost over $100,000 and get up into the 7 figures sometimes. We all love to build them. They're a lot of fun, they're challenging, they're beautiful. We put pictures of them on our website, carry pictures around, make Christmas cards out of them. Who knows what else. We love high-end pools. And there's some builders who are able to do nothing but high-end pools. They may only do 10 pools a year, but they make enough on those 10 pools to keep their families fed and to enjoy a very nice lifestyle. But a lot of builders can't build nothing but high-end pools. I too tend to work on high-end pools in the course of my current business. Those are the ones that also go bad, file lawsuits, and their attorneys end up hiring me. So I see a lot of bad high-end pools. What about everyone else? Millions of folks want a nice, well-designed pool and maybe spa that isn't over-the-top expensive. Many of these individuals and families have steady jobs, have equity in their homes, and they can afford a nice installation. Perhaps not a high-end installation, but a nice one. This market is somewhat recession-proof because the people do have steady jobs and equity and tend not to go too far into debt. So by not ignoring this market, my company could survive hard times, and over a 20-year period, we certainly had some hard times. There was a bad recession in the early 80s when interest rates on a new home were 17%. Bad recession in the early 90s when real estate just stopped selling. And we all remember the recession of 2008. I was out of the construction business by then, but I could see that my friends were really feeling the pain. Computer drawings. 3-dimensional multi-viewpoint drawings are great. I love computers. My background before I got into pools was systems engineering. I was writing software as early as 1966. So I'm not shy about computers. I'm not a Luddite whatsoever. But why am I talking about drawing pools by hand? Now, when this video was made, a good laptop cost around $3,000. The internet was just starting to grow. The programs that did exist had a very steep learning curve. So a typical pool company could not afford to equip each salesperson, especially new trainees, with a laptop and software to go out and design pools. Otherwise, they had to do a rough sketch, come in back to the office, design a pool, take out the drawing to the customer and show it to them and go back and forth a couple times until everything worked out. This video was made in the early 1990s. I was training 2 new pool salesmen on pool drawing. One of them went on to become a very good and one of our top salespeople. The other just sort of went that way and disappeared. The drawings were done on the spot and in front of the customer. So we'd measure the yard, sit down, and draw the pool in front of the customer. My partner decided to tape this sales training for use in future sales training. So don't expect a glossy professional video. It's just me drawing and talking and answering questions as we went through the process. The beauty of designing by hand. The customer is involved during the entire process. When the job is done, customers will be bragging that they designed the pool or that they had helped design the pool. And God bless them, let them keep thinking that. Often the salesperson could price the pool out right then and there on the job after they had drawn the pool. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes they could close a deal, sign a contract, and after the 3-day right to rescind, they could go out and start building the pool. The designer is conscious of how the pool will be built during the design process, and this is really important. I teach a course for the APSP where we talk about laying out freeform pools, and in the process we're looking for radius points, which you will see in the video and in some of the slides I have coming up. And the question always comes up, what if we physically cannot reach that radius point? What do we do then? And the answer is very complicated, and usually what they end up doing is just guessing at the design, and they end up making the pool bigger at their own expense. So if you design properly and you're conscious of construction while you're drawing the pool, then the pool can easily be reproduced. You're going to give the client the pool that they want, and the builder, you, is going to have better cost control. Elevation is crucial. The buyer and of course the seller should be aware of elevation issues, potential access and damage that can happen during excavation, how the yard will be graded for decks and drainings, how the soil will be removed, if the soil will be removed. Here are some construction pictures of a pool that I drew by hand a long time ago, 1979. Sorry, I don't have a copy of the plan. Gosh knows where it is over the years, but we do have these pictures. I was younger, and you'll see me smoking a cigarette. I quit smoking in 1985. I wish I had done it a lot sooner. So we start with the small yard, and we see that the yard is completely fenced in, and this is a corner lot, which makes the job a little bit easier. And we set up a builder's level. Lasers were just not available back then, and the ones that did come along later on still required 2 people to operate. And so you have to note things like the existing patio slab and the post. You want to make sure that you are going to finish nice and even with those and not cause any disruption in your client's backyard. Now, you can see we took a couple sections of fence down to get in the backyard, but look how neatly they came down. We didn't break one piece of wood. Everything came down nicely, and we got the tractor into the backyard. Now you may use a completely different type of tractor to dig your pools. Things have changed a lot. We can't use these large tractors as much as we used to because the yards keep getting smaller. So that's something that you'll have to talk about and isn't really considered in this video. So we graded the yard and brought the whole yard down to the level that what we call subgrade, which is below the actual forms we're going to install. And of course the forms we're going to install are going to be below the finished grade of the pool. Now you have to discuss with your customer how the soil will be removed. You can see over here the fence sections that we took down are still intact. Where you're going to haul it to, how long it's going to take. A hauling can oftentimes take longer than the actual digging of the pool, and sometimes a second or third dump truck may be required. The layout has to be accurate. It has to be accurate and drawn according to plan to make the customer happy and to make you, the builder, happy. So setting the center points is the first task of of laying out a freeform pool. and then find your different radius points. And you'll see that I'm pulling two tapes together, and we install a stake at fixed points on the different tapes. And we set the stakes and we nail the forms. Each stake is marked with a pencil as to where the form will be nailed. Now the forms are actually 12 inches over the actual size of the pool to allow for a 12-inch thick pool wall at the bond beam. So the pool is actually going to fit inside these wooden forms that we're nailing up. And here we see the forms, and we see that the tractor's getting ready to start working again. And you have to leave a space for the tractor to get out of the pool, which you're going to finish forming after the pool is completely excavated. And so we nail the forms to the stakes at each mark. Meanwhile, we're still starting to get that dirt out of that yard. We hand trim. As the pool was excavated, these excavators were very skilled. They could actually get the pool pretty close with their tractor, their bucket, and the ripper, which is you see sticking out of the back end of the tractor. But still, hand trimming was required. So you can see that I was actually doing some hand trimming, and that's probably because the other fellow on the team was driving the dump truck to the dump site. And here we see the finished excavation. We did form in the ramp where the tractor left, and we have done some preliminary plumbing after the steel was installed in the pool. Yes, in California the steel goes in before the plumbing. I know in other parts of the country that seems crazy, and never seemed crazy to me at the time, but I've since learned a little bit about different ways pools are built. Shotcrete came later, and we followed the time tradition of cove walls and floor, even though this is wet shotcrete that we were using. Back then, we kind of pioneered that. Always supervise your shotcrete. You want to make sure you get the proper coverage, that your walls are the proper thickness. There's a lot of handwork being done, and you want to be there on site. And so you see me on site, dressed in my Sunday go-to-meeting clothes, ready to yell at these guys if they're doing something that I don't like or something I do like. Now the finished pool looks something like this. In fact, it looks exactly like this. This was the pool that we built, and you can see that it finishes smoothly with the existing slab, and all the radiuses are precise, and everything fits. Looks exactly like the plan. I can't show you the plan, but I can guarantee you it looks exactly like the plan. Customer's happy, and I, as the builder and salesperson, was also very happy. So let's talk about the video you're going to see. You'll hear plenty of antique sales talks as we go through the process. There's no mention of things like drain safety, diving boards, exploding filters, and a lot of things that we talk about today that simply were not talked about back then. Perhaps we weren't aware. We didn't have the communication that we have today. Those topics just didn't have the attention. More to come. If you like this video, then I'll post another showing how to design two other types of pools. One's called a Roman or a Grecian pool, and another one that we call a geometric pool, which is my favorite design. Now get ready. Sorry for this long introduction. So relax, enter the time machine, see how some salespeople back then learned how to draw and build pools. You may want to take breaks while plodding through this. Don't go to sleep. The video begins after I had discussed with the trainees how to measure a yard. A fictitious set of measurements for a fictitious backyard was invented. One of the drawbacks you will see is that we made this fictitious yard a little bit too small. We've measured the yard, we've talked to the customer about shape, we've decided let's draw the yard using the measurements we have. Now, my preference is to draw the yard to one side. Okay. Some salespeople like to draw it right in the middle. I like to draw it to one side because we oftentimes have to draw a second plan or a plot plan, and I leave room for it there. Okay? So this is the 1/8 inch scale that we're using. and we're going to be following off that. So I'll start in just a little ways, and I'll draw my first property line in pencil. And now I can just read those numbers off of the measurements that I took. So my first measurement is going to be at 8 feet. And what's my next one at 32?
30.
30.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Here.
Okay.
32. 32 feet. And then the next one is at, well, I have to come up 6 feet, right? So let's go up 6. And each of these little grids on the paper are exactly 1 foot. Okay. So back here now we're at 32. And we know the patio is going to start at 38. 37 is the patio. 38 is the sliding glass door. And the sliding glass door ends at 46. And the patio ends at 47. The house ends at 52, right here. And the property ends at 60. Typical backyard is 60 foot wide. Can you see it there? On that video?
Yeah, it's just here in a minute.
Here's our house. And I can move the drawing if we need to. Drawn to scale. Here's our sliding glass door. And there was one measurement I forgot to take. Any of you guys know what it is? We always end up going back out in the yard for an extra measurement anyway. I used to do it on purpose when I smoked, because then I could go back out and measure something and grab a couple of puffs off a cigarette. But I quit smoking, and now I could just say I did it because I forgot.
You measure the
I
gas
forgot to
line.
measure out how
the
far out the
pad.
slab was. So, but usually, let's say
Yeah,
that's
new houses, you're not going to see a pad anyway.
you might, but
What does this represent? The wall thickness or the border of the house? Or?
I try to give the house a little bit of feeling of depth.
Right. Okay.
The walls aren't a foot thick,
Right.
but I just draw it that way because it gives.
Yeah,
it
the
gives
lines
some
are there
feeling,
too, so it just it's easier.
And the lines are there, yeah. So I'm going to come out 10 feet. Okay. And that's going to be my patio slab. There's a lot of people who say you shouldn't use a scale to draw against.
I do all the time.
That, because you're going to end up ruining them. As you can see, I managed to ruin my scale. Anyway.
Looks like you dropped it.
I've dropped it a few times. Okay, now from this corner, we measured to the property line 35 feet, right? So we'll come out here and we'll mark off 35 feet on that line. From this corner, I measured 25 feet. 25 feet. All right. So that means that I've got my property line is actually on a slope. It's
Right.
actually a little bit slanted. Okay. And then we have a tree that I measured out at 30 feet from the house and 36 feet from over here. So what we're going to end up doing is kind of triangulating that in. There's 30, 36. There's our tree. There's the center of the tree. And so it's not quite lined up, but see, if we use the triangle measurements, 30 foot from this corner, 36 from this corner, I didn't say that that was necessarily straight. So now we have the tree. We know we're going to bring the tractor in on this side, and we've got this slab here.
That's right, so you already got a problem.
Already have a problem. What's the problem?
Dude, well, first of all, you probably don't have a whole lot of clearance for a pull on this end. And you want to come in on this side, but they don't want to get rid of the poor tree. Can you put the tree in the middle?
Hypothetical hypothetical situations would work out that way. I would probably recommend that they take out the slab.
Yeah.
Generally, that's a good recommendation. The reason is that the concrete guy makes it slope out away from the house. Since he makes it slope away from the house, that means water's gonna be rushing toward the pool.
Mm-hmm.
The customer doesn't wanna have a step up. They'd like that pool to finish flush with their slab. They don't wanna have a step right here.
Right.
The yards, according to California National Building Codes, are supposed to drain to the front. So all yards have an upslope to them. They all slope up toward the back. Right? So here we have a slab that's pouring out, a yard that's pointing down, and what we've got is a big valley going right
Right.
through here. If we take the slab out, that gives us control of the elevations in the yard. And we can set the elevations so that things will drain a little bit better. This slab may have cost them $500, but to save the slab, they're probably going to really end up spending thousands in either retaining walls
Drainage.
or drainage systems.
Drainage systems.
So,
Plus, you really can't back concrete to concrete.
No.
It's not going to ever look good. It's never going to be the same plane.
having said that, you're going to find some people that insist on keeping it.
That's right. Because so as soon as you find out how much it costs to haul away the broken concrete,
Well,
$250.
yeah,
depends how big it is.
it's usually
Camera.
not even that bad. A lot of
Yeah.
times what we do is we tell the customer that sometimes we can take it to the landfills that we're taking the dirt to. Because a lot of times the people that take
You
the
do.
dirt will also take the concrete.
Yeah.
So, what we generally do is say, if there's a dump fee, what we'll ask you to do is just, a lot of times they just either ride with the excavator or the dump truck, if they like riding in dump trucks, or if they don't, they can follow the excavator in their car, and when he goes into the dump, they just write a check directly to the dump company. So they don't end up, and up here in this neck of the woods, the dumping situation is very good. And the excavator will handle that for you. He'll address dumping fees and things like that when he talks to the customers.
Well, a lot of the new homes, though, don't even have a slab out there. They might have a little stoop or something.
Stupid. That's just a
Get rid of
temporary
that.
Yeah,
stoop.
temporary
Take
thing.
the stoop away.
Right.
Okay, so let's make the assumption that
Okay,
we've
we
convinced
got-
this customer to get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Now, what do you think? Does this customer want a diving pool, or do they want
Well, let's give them a diving pool. Just
give them a diving pool?
yeah. That way we know.
32-foot long diving pool?
32 foot. Yeah.
Okay. Since you said we want a diving pool, I know in my head that I want the diving board toward this end. Reason being, the tractor's going to come in this way. You always get a better dig if you dig from the shallow end.
Right.
You'll get a better dig if you dig from the shallow end. So since we want a diving pool, we'll do that. My diving board is 6 foot long, okay? And it overhangs the pool about 1.5 feet.
Oh, really?
A lot of people draw diving boards incorrectly. They draw them hanging over the pool 5 feet. In fact, I've actually had very successful diving board installations where I put the edge of the diving board literally right at the edge of the pool. You know, we're talking small residential pools. We're not talking
Right.
giant diving boards like we've seen in like you see in some commercial applications. Okay. Now, we're going to try to draw a shape something like the one you drew here.
Three bubbles.
What we call the 3-bubble shape. So we're going to try to customize it to this yard.
That's right.
And the minimum width of a diving end is 12 feet. Okay. Given that things are fairly tight back here, that's how big I'm going to make it, 12 feet. All right? So, in order to do that, I'm going to draw a circle with a radius of 6 feet. And that's going to give me the 12-foot width.
Right.
Now, I know I have to be 4 foot from the property line. In some cities, it's 5. Okay? I know I have to be 4 foot from the property line with my pool. So I'm going to say, well, I'm going to draw a radius of 6. I have to be 4 foot from the property line. Therefore, I know the center of that circle's got to be 10 feet.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to draw here is I'm going to draw 2 marks at 10 foot out.
Right.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Yeah, you're talking about property lines. I'll just give Gary some more information. Whenever you come to a place where they have homeowners association, usually it's no less than 5 feet, and sometimes it's 10% of the width of the property. So if the property is 70 feet wide, it's actually 7 feet.
We haven't had a lot of problems with
You
homeowners
don't see that,
associations now.
one place that I'm at is 10% type thing.
It's generally
Yeah.
4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, 4 or 5, yeah.
Good, get 'em up here.
When you get into big lots, sometimes it gets really weird. Okay. So what I did is I drew a little line at 10 foot here, and I drew a line at 10 foot there. And now I know that that's the closest I can put the center of that 6-foot circle to the property line. And that is where I'm going to try to put it.
Okay.
Because I want to get this deep end as far down here as possible. And when I'm talking to the customer, what I'm going to say is, Donna, when you're sitting in your kitchen here looking in the backyard, I want you to have a clear view of those kids. I want you to have a clear view of the kids when they're out there on the diving board. That way, anything goes wrong, you can see them all the time. You're going to see the deep end of the pool. You don't have to worry about them as much down the shallow end of the pool. You've got to worry about them when they're deep end of the pool. And so, not only are we designing the pool to be properly built, we're designing it for usage too. Okay. Now, this is the part where we get technical. Derek?
Yeah, just hold on the phone.
Okay.
Oh, okay, what?
Just why don't you watch the next for a little bit? Can you see what's going on here
Uh-huh.
in the video? I've set the pointer of my compass on the 6-foot mark, and I stretch the compass down to the 0 mark. Okay. Now I've got exactly a 6-foot radius, and I'm going to put my pointer now right down here, and I'm going to draw a 6-foot circle. Now I'm also going to draw a 7-foot circle. I always draw 2, the inside and the outside. We're eventually going to put coping on this pool, so this is going to be the back of the coping. Okay? Also, this is the line that the excavator lays out day of excavation. Because what we're going to do when we dig this pool is, if let's say we're digging a pool that was a pure circle, we would lay out the 7-foot circle and we dig the hole inside. And we dig the hole bigger than 6 foot because we've got to put in a 6-inch pool wall. It's actually a foot thick at the top. We have a footing that goes around the top of the pool. It's called a bond beam.
Right.
And then the walls narrow down to 6 inches. So I would actually have to dig 6 inches in from this outside form, and then we shoot our gunite a foot thick. So this line that I've drawn here will never actually be drawn on the job. It won't appear until the pool is gunited, until it's almost done. So I have to be thinking about building this pool. And what I want to be thinking is that, geez, I need to be able to lay this pool out. So if I draw both lines at the same time, I know I can almost build the pool that I'm drawing.
Right.
Right?
So they're going to wind up with a 12-foot diameter then.
They're going to wind up with a 12-foot diameter, even though this circle across here is 14.
And we've got still 1, 2, 3. We've got
4 foot
4
4
foot.
foot. Now,
from
So
each
from-
property line
Yeah, from each property.
to the water or the,
to the water.
to the, okay, because I think you're 5 here. But that's-
Oh, I did 5?
Yeah, I think
I
you
may
had one
have.
extra foot.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
what
I
he's
did 5
asking?
to water
Okay.
there, but
Yeah,
this is
that's
4 to
fine.
water over there.
Okay.
So, in fact, since you pointed that out,
Yes,
what's my favorite tool?
eraser.
You got it.
That's right. So if we make a mistake, we erase in front of the customer. Start over.
Erase in front of
Do
the
it right.
customer. And the other thing I do is, my bag isn't here, but when I want to clear a eraser, I take my briefcase and I brush it into my briefcase.
Yeah, you're going all over there.
And they say, oh, that's okay, you can just brush it on the floor. And I say, no, it's a rule I have. I don't like to leave a mess in people's homes. People really appreciate that, and they and then I jokingly say, and I made myself a promise that when I fill the briefcase up, I'm going to buy a new briefcase. So let's go back to here, and where's my 10-foot? It's right there. So now let's draw our. It should still be on the 7-foot, because I want this thing as close to that property line as I can get it, because I haven't got much room back here. So now I'm going to measure the 6-foot again by using my wheel and turning it in. What's nice about a good quality compass,
Wait, measure that one more time, will you?
okay,
Is that what the rules are in San Diego? Because everything I've worked on out here, you got to be 5 feet away
5?
from that property
okay.
line. Yeah.
The rules in most
the
of San
Riverside,
Diego,
San Bernardino area, that's what I've come
Riverside
across.
is 4 feet.
It is.
San Diego's 5 feet for a general road.
No, the
Isn't
city of San Diego is 4.
4. Oh, City of San
And
Diego.
parts
Okay,
of-
I work
part-
North County.
Some
mostly.
parts of the city can go even close as 3.
Yeah, some
Really?
parts of the city of
Okay.
San Diego you can go 3.
Wow.
Okay, now, I've drawn a 6-foot, a 6-foot radius. I would like to make the shower window of this pool wider, because that's where they spend their time,
Mhm.
right? So I'd like to make the shower window of this pool 16 foot wide. So what size radius am I gonna need?
8.
8, okay? Now, this is where a lot of people get confused, and you just need to take your time and go over this. It's not hard math, but it's,
No.
because this is simple arithmetic,
Mhm.
but it blows all of our minds when we first see it. Okay, I'm gonna draw an 8-foot radius down here. I'd like the pool to be 32 foot long,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've got a 6-foot radius here. I'm gonna draw an 8-foot radius down here.
Mhm.
How far between centers?
14 minus 32 is da 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 da.
Okay, it's 32.
14 minus.
Minus 6
Minus
minus 8. Okay. 32 minus 14 is 18.
20.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Don't be afraid to do it on
Yeah.
the paper, okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's
just
take
go-
our scale.
So you go.
Now this is where it gets to be fun. Let's take our scale, and I'm going to measure 18, whoops. If I don't jab my hand, I'm going to measure 18 feet.
Uh-huh.
Right? And since I know where the center of my last circle was, I'm going to scribe.
Scribe right there. So
Right
you
there.
can-
Now, I know that anywhere on that point is going to give me if I put the center of an 8-foot circle anywhere on that point, it's going to give me a 32-foot long pool.
Yeah, and you can see how that circle's
see
going to
how-
look in different places.
So I can go down here,
Mm-hmm.
I can go up here, close to the property line. What do you think?
Could you just take this and just kind of look at it?
I could do that.
It might be a
I
little
could take a
easier,
circle.
just so
That-
you can visualize
Well,
it.
because this is an
That isn't big
8
enough.
foot is 8 foot. See, 8
There you
foot
go.
is a 2-inch circle.
Yeah, 2-inch circle. So you just kind of lay it on there and see how it kind of looks.
So, where would they like to have it? Where do you think? We have to be 4 foot from the
Well,
house.
let's go back towards the fence and, well,
We have to be 4 foot from the house and
4
4.
foot from the fence.
Want to go 4 foot from the fence?
Yeah, I think so. We don't need a whole lot of concrete in that. Just go with the original
Now,
line.
that means
huh?
I can be, that means I can, no, I have to be 12 foot. See?
Yeah, that's right.
12
That's right.
plus 8, 12 minus 4 leaves 8.
8, yeah.
So if I use that center point, I know I'm going to be exactly 4 foot from the property line, and I'm going to have a 32 foot
Mhm.
long pool. So we'll draw the 8-foot circle and the 9-foot circle. Okay. These people would like, what I want to do now is I want to put another circle in here
Mm-hmm.
to kind of make it look nice. Now,
Okay.
I drew a 6 here and I drew an 8 here.
Mm-hmm.
So just for fun, I'm going to draw a 7. What difference, how did I come up with 7? I don't know. I just made the number up.
Yeah.
But what we're going to try to do, a 7-foot circle is, let's see, inch,
7, 8,
inch and 3/4, I
inch and
think.
3/4, yeah.
So we're going to have this inch and 3/4 circle come in here, and we're going to try to have it finish. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, where are you putting it? This side?
Right
okay.
here.
So you're getting close to the house again. huh?
Yes, I'm getting close to the house, which is going to be really nice. So I've got to come, for a 7-foot, I've got to come 4 foot from the house. Now, we can come closer to the house. The only reason we stay away from the house is for engineering reasons. We can come closer to the house, we just have to make the pool,
Yeah.
we have to make the pool a little
Even though
stronger.
that's your sliding glass door you're coming into.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, we're going down here to 11 feet, and we'll make the center of that circle. Let me draw a 7-foot circle. Are you with me, Gary?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm
Okay.
just thinking 4 feet from that slider is
It's too close?
pretty damn close.
Yeah.
You know, I visualize myself in that house, you know.
Well, it's just a-
Well,
yeah.
I take 2 steps.
Well,
and
to
I'm
be
in the
honest with
water.
you, the yard that I came up with is kind of hokey, and so we're working in a yard that you'll probably never have. But who
Yeah.
knows? You
Actually, if we were smart, we would have slid this pole down towards the tree more.
yeah, and access. We would have put it close to the tree and
Yeah.
accessed from the other
Well,
side.
we're
But
just trying to stay close to our
Or
utilities.
even
you know.
dig if
Yeah.
the shallow end from this side, but just swing it
Okay,
this
I
way.
drew a 7, now I'm going to draw an 8 around it. And it's really just at one point that it's 4 foot. Most of it, it's getting away from it fast. So now we have our 3 basic circles. And we need to connect them. Now, the way George would probably do it is he'd lay his circle templates in here and
Yeah.
just kind of float them in, okay? And the problem with doing that is that, again, you lose the ability to reproduce it with real precision. Okay?
Where your center points
If
are.
you know where your center points are, then you can reproduce it with real precision.
Mhm.
So I prefer not to use these till I get to the inking stage.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, connecting the circles takes, we're going to do more of this kind of math. First of all, you make a decision, and what I used to do is I had a circle template like this, and I took a piece of white tape, actually it was a piece of a label that I cut up, and I marked on here, this is a 3.5 foot radius. I would write what that was in feet. I'd write what the radius was in feet, and I'd write what the diameter was in feet, and I taped it right to there, okay? Because until you get used to going between in eighths, like, you know, I know from years of doing it that an 8 foot radius is a 2-inch diameter circle, a 1-inch radius circle, okay? But that's because I've been doing it for years, and it just sort of comes second nature to me. So what we could do is we could take these and say, we want to give this some nice shape, all right? And by looking at it like this, maybe a little bit more shape, okay? I come up with an 1.5-inch circle. Does that look pretty good? 1.5-inch circle. Now, what's an 1.5-inch circle? Okay, 1.5 inches, 1.5 times 8 is 12 foot. What's the radius?
6.
6. So that means I want to connect these 2 circles with a 6 foot radius. This radius was
6.
6 plus 6
It's 12.
is 12. I'll draw a little arc out here. This radius was
That was a 7.
That was 7.
7.
Yeah.
7 plus 6 is 13. Now, I know that at this point, I'm exactly 6 foot from both of these circles. You follow that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I added 6 to each radius. I know that that is the perfect center point. Right. Now, my practice is to actually draw a very light line in here. You can use your ruler, or you can just take your compass. See if you can get this on camera, Dirk. Take your compass and draw from here to there. And they should connect up pretty close to perfect. And if I had my pencil sharpened, they'd
It'd
be
be better, yeah.
dead on. They'd be dead on. But that gets my first connection. I know my center points right now. I'm going to connect these with a 6 also. This was a 7 foot plus 6 is 7 plus 6 is
13.
13. This is an 8 foot. So what do I need?
15.
8 plus
8 and
4.
7?
8 and 6.
14.
14, right?
14. So this is the part that gets a lot of people. Okay. Now, let me draw my little lines in again. The lower the radius, the sharper it looks, the more it bows in. So if I connected these with a 4 foot radius, you'd see more curve. If I connected them with a 10 foot radius,
Less
you'd
curve.
see less curve. Okay. How do you come up with a radius for connecting? You can use, you just have to use your judgment. Now Bob, when he first learned how to draw pools, he figured that he was only going to sell the same pool over and over again, which he did, and he'll be the first to tell you that too.
That picture, we got one pool.
Yeah, he said he had what? Yeah, I think he told me he had 3 pools.
Okay, look how that one connected up.
Yeah, no.
Perfect, right? Now, he always used tens. because he knew he could add 10 to things easy. So
Oh,
he just added
okay.
10 all the time.
Yeah.
Now, when we get out here, for this connection out here, we're going to want probably a bigger radius because we want to flatten it out a little bit. We don't want it. We don't want it coming in as much.
Yeah.
So out here, I'm going to use a 10. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I want to connect.
So you got 10.
I've got an 8 here.
Mm-hmm.
What radius do I want to draw to find my center point?
18.
18. I've got a 6 here. What radius do I want to draw to get my center point?
16.
What's neat is once you get a feel for this, you can draw 5 circle pools, 6 circle pools. You can draw really, you can do some really interesting
Mhm.
things. But it's getting a feel for it. Now I'm going to come back. Let me draw my little lines in here. And I'm going to try to connect them.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it'll look pretty good. Oh, not too bad. Not too bad for a, not too bad for a 52-year-old Irishman.
There you go.
There you go. And viola.
You
is,
got it.
is beautiful, right?
Mhm.
Did you say you wanted a spot, Mr. Jenkins?
Yeah, we forgot about our spot. Where's my spot at?
Well,
Well,
what I wanted
now
to,
you're really limited where it goes.
what I wanted, yeah, I know. Well, again, the yard is a kind of a hokey one. If the yard sloped that way, usually they'd put the L on the house
Don't
on that
worry.
side.
We're going to see a lot of yards like that.
But you're going to see strange yards, so we're going to come up with strange designs. And this will show you how we can make even a weird yard look
I
strange.
was in one the other
First
day.
of all, Mr. Jenkins, let's get your diving board in there. Okay?
Mhm.
There's where your diving board's going to be.
Mhm.
Okay?
Right down the middle.
Now, what I'd like to do is, I'd like to keep that spa as close to the equipment as possible. But essentially, our choices are, we could put it somewhere along here, or somewhere toward the back.
Mhm.
And you discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each with the customer. From here, they'd be able to see it from the house. We could raise it up and make it into a water feature.
Mhm.
It's also going to make for slightly longer equipment runs because we know we're going to try to have the equipment over there, right? But that's not enough to kill putting the spa where you want to.
Yeah.
Right. We could put it over here, which would be nice because we'd be able to get in and out on a cold winter evening and get in there, and it'd be more private. Over here seems too cluttered for me.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't be able to go into the pool with the diving board anyways. It'd have to be-
Now, spa size and shape comes up a lot. Many people are going to say, I want a 10-foot spa. All right. A cubic foot of water weighs 62.5 pounds. It takes 62.5 BTUs to raise that cubic foot of water 1 degree. Because that's what a BTU is. It's the amount of heat that it takes to raise 1 pound of water 1 degree. If we make that spa bigger, the bigger we make that spa, what we're doing is we are putting a column of water right in the middle of that spa. You're not going to be sitting in the middle, we're going to be sitting on the back, right? That we have to heat. And we make that spa bigger, we dramatically increase the heating time. So you want to tell your customer, I'm not trying to save money or anything like that. I want you to pick a spa size that really makes sense. Because unlike the spas that you buy at Price Club or places like that, this spa, you have to heat it to use it. The question is, do I want to heat it in half an hour or do I want to heat it in an hour? Or do I want to spend 2 hours? And I've had people, they buy the 10, if you take a 10-foot spa and you go to heat it in the month of February, it's going to take 2 hours. With the biggest heater I can sell you, with a 400,000 BTU heater, it's going to take 2 hours to heat that thing. Because you're going to start off, the water's going to be 60. And you got to get it up to 102. And you're heating all this water that essentially you're not going to be using. Right? I think the perfect spa is either a 6-foot circle, even though everybody else sells 7s. I think the perfect family spa is a 6-foot circle, or a 9-foot half circle. Now, how would you make this, and you don't have to make pure half circles. I mean, you can come up with very creative shapes. How do you choose between the two? The difference between the circular spot and the half circle spot is that you can sit eyeball to eyeball with somebody with a circular spot. However, the wall between the pool and the spa, the wall that has water on both sides, is too thin to have any plumbing in it. So there's no jets on those seats over there. Unless we spend extra money and make the wall 12 inches thick, which costs extra money. Okay? So we have a choice. We can have a half circle spa where the jets are spread out on the half circle, and everybody sits kind of like sitting on a couch. Right? Everybody's sitting on a big old couch. It's just like it is, a big old couch. Plenty of seating. Half circle spa, we draw a 4.5-foot radius. Or we can have a full circle spa that's 6 foot across. People can sit across from each other. If we want to spend, but we have to spend extra money to put jets in a spa wall. Not much, a couple $100, maybe $300 on the process.
You're talking about what
The
you have the
inside wall
inside.
of the spa.
Okay.
Now,
What's
do you have
against the
a tape, Dirk, a rigid tape, a 25-footer? You had one.
I have them right in the briefcase there. Just pop that open. I think it's still in there.
And let me show you, let me illustrate. This is a great illustration to do. And again, you always want to do this illustration in the house. It's Gary, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Put this to your back, George. To your back. Stretch that to your back. What are you
8
at?
feet.
Huh?
8 feet.
8 feet.
Is that 8 feet?
There's 6 right there.
Okay. I think that's 6 feet.
6'8".
Yeah.
Okay. Move up to 6 foot. Move up closer to him.
Yeah, I got them right there.
Okay. Now move
Okay.
your chair in.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that
That
enough
better?
distance? Is that the table's in our way? Why don't we do it this way? Here.
6 feet right
Yeah.
here.
Is
Yeah.
that enough distance?
Yeah.
Is that big enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's plenty big, isn't it?
Like we're sitting now.
Now, if we make it 7 foot, we're putting a big column of water, all right? 1 foot diameter. It's actually more than that. We're putting a big column of water that we have to heat. And all we're going to be able to do is maybe reach our tippy toes out into that column of water. The rest that we and it's going. The sad part is that it's not proportionate. In other words, if you increase the diameter of the spot 10%, you're probably increasing the heating time by 30%.
Right.
Because it's a volume
It's
relation.
not being cost
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah, you're not
What
being
you're
cost
looking at.
effective. So what do you think, Mr. Jenkins? Would you like a 6 foot full circle or a half circle? Which would you prefer?
Well,
the
if
couch, or the
Yeah, if we, well,
Let's
we
do
could
this
go with the
one.
couch, because we'd have to increase the thickness of the walls, you're saying?
Yeah.
By 6 inches?
Right.
In order to
For
put
the
jets on
inside.
that side.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to go with the half circle?
Half circle's fine, yeah.
Okay.
So let's do the half circle. And would you like it on this end or over here somewhere? Over here or over here? Or in the middle?
Yeah, we could do it over on this end right
Over
here.
in the end? Great. Okay, I'm taking my 4.5 foot circle. Now remember, I've got to be 4 foot from the property line. So I'm going to come down here and find the center of that thing at 8.5 feet. I know that I'm going to put my center point right there. All right. Now I just did something that nobody will ever notice, but I just made the pool easier to build. Look where I put my center, George. Where did I put it?
On the edge of the pool,
But not on the water line.
not on the water line.
I put it
No.
on the coping line.
Why? Because that's what. where
Because
they're
that's the line we're going to be working with day of excavation.
Yeah.
So now, when this pool gets laid up, a lot of salesmen draw the center of the circle on this line. But that line's not there day of excavation. That line is not there till we're finished building the pool. So now, your excavator,
So you come back
You know,
and then dig out the
don't
spot.
give, no, don't give the excavator so much credit. The excavator has to make the center of the circle on the water line. The excavator generally didn't go to college.
Mhm.
They generally need help tying their shoes, and they're generally going to screw it up
Yeah.
when they go to lay it out. It'll look fine, but then all of a sudden you're going to say, geez, you're going to get a call from this woman named Cindy, the Wicked Witch of the South, okay? Because she calls salespeople all the time, and she says, you sold this customer a pool that was 90 perimeter, and it's now 94. What happened? And she's tough. She's my wife.
Yeah.
She's real tough.
Yeah, I heard about her.
We call her the catcher. She finds everything that's wrong with every bill, and keeps us all honest. So
Okay.
she's going to call you and say, how did this pool get bigger? And you're going to say, well, Rick told me to draw pools and put the center of the spa on the form line, the coping line, and I put it on the water line, and the excavator screwed up when they laid it out. And then she says, okay, I forgive you. And then she calls the excavator and starts yelling at him. But it's too late by then. The money's gone and we can't get it back. So now we've got the spa down at the end of the pool. Well, we got a few other things to do. We've got to put a bench in the spa. Pool benches are 1.5 feet. They're 1.5 foot. So that's a 4.5 foot radius.
Mm-hmm.
I subtract 1.5 feet from that and I get 3 foot.
Okay.
And now
Do that.
there's my spa bench.
Okay.
Now, if you take the wheel and measure around it, you'll see that there is a bunch of seating in the spa. This is a great spa. It really is a great spa. And we don't sell as many of them as we should. They're great spas. If you draw them, now again, this yard is so tight, but if you draw a spa like this in the middle of one of these inside radiuses, it hardly adds any perimeter to the pool. So it's a very cost-effective thing. It's a very cost-effective way to put a spa in a pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can still do a waterfall off that too if you want
I can
to.
still raise the spa. Okay. Now, how much deck did you want around this pool? 4 foot? 4 foot of deck around the pool? Now, you're going to love this. This is where your life gets easy for you. I'm going to add 4 foot, which
Yeah, now it's
should,
easy
by
to-
the way,
Easy to add now, huh?
which should, by the way, come right to the property line in both cases, because we've been drawing the pool 4 foot away from the property line. Now I can just connect over to here. And this one I'm going to have to measure. 4.5 plus 4 is 8.5 feet. We'll come around a spot like this, and hopefully that'll just touch the property line. And now all we need to do is, see, that was 7, that's going to come back. Actually, see, what we're going to probably do here is this. We'll come in and we'll just whip it all the way around. We'll take this and we'll whip it. They should be the same, but they're not. All the way around. And we'll come back to the house. Like that. There's our deck.
Okay.
You see the advantage of having those center points?
Sure.
I mean, do that when you've drawn a pool with a template.
Mm-hmm.
If you're good, the deck will look good. But if you
Mhm.
draw the pool this way, the deck always looks good. The deck always looks good. Okay. What's left to do now is we've got the equipment location, we've got the spa. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a love seat to the pool. A love seat is a bench that's 1.5 feet out for people to get out of the pool. I'm going to put that love seat right across there, like that. And I'm going to put steps in the pool right down here for them to get in and out of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
The steps are 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. Watch.
First one's 1.5.
Find a center point, which I defined right here. Draw a circle at 1.5. The small circles are the hard ones to draw, by the way. Draw a circle at 2.5. Draw a circle at 3.5. Now, some salespeople use 1, 2, and 3. instead of 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. The reason they do that is they're trying to make the pool look bigger. They're trying to make the steps look smaller. But this is the way. This is the way they really look. This is the way they really look. Customer says, "I'd like a little bench coming off the steps." Say, "No problem." The bench is 1.5 feet, so that's how I got my 1.5 feet there. And we'll come out here, take our 1.5 feet again, back to here. Now they've got a little bench coming off the steps. See, this is the power of having my center points already there. I can dress up that pool really fast. I can do this trim work really fast and everything's nice and accurate. So now they've got a nice bench, they've got their steps coming into the pool, they've got a love seat, they've got their diving board. This pool, we want to put a light here, and a light in here, and a little bench to get into the spa, and this pool's ready. This
A
pool's
little
ready.
what to get into this?
A little step.
Little step.
Step.
Otherwise, you're stepping down to the seating areas.
Right.
This
Big
pool's ready.
jump.
I need a black pen. Now I need a black pen. I think I have one here.
I don't know if this is black or not.
Oh, here's the one I want. This is a rolling point pen. You can certainly use this.
That's good.
They work just fine. Some people buy the real fine felt tip pens. Okay? I don't erase anything yet. Now I do use, this is where I do use my circle templates. I use my circle templates to ink in the drawing. And one of the first things I do is I mark all my center points. Odds are this one center point here I might not be able to actually find day of excavation, but all the rest of them I can. So I'll mark all my center points. And there's nothing. Because I don't want them to get erased. What did I miss?
You missed something here?
No.
Okay. Didn't think so. Yeah, that's where the big eraser's gonna come in, huh?
Mm-hmm. The drawing doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be neat and it should be clean when you get done. We're going to erase all the pencil after I've gone over it in ink.
Okay, you left the information on my sheet.
All right, now we're ready for circles.
Yeah, go ahead and call it anyhow. And then,
This kind of template is pretty widely available, and one thing nice about them is that they're all 1/8 of an inch apart, which is just what we use. And what you can do with them is they have a center point. You can lay them on here, and you can trace the circles. So they're kind of handy from that standpoint. But you end up flipping them around a lot. Right? If you know what your circles are, as if you've got them all marked on here, then this kind of circle template sometimes is a little easier to work with because you just sort of fiddle around till you find the one that you know is right. Okay. Now I know that was a 6-foot radius, so that's going to be 1.5. Okay, so here's my 1.5, and I trace it. Remember, I drew these lines in here. Okay. I trace it only in that area. All right. Now I know that one's a 7-foot. Right? So I need to add a 1/4 inch. In other words, 2/8 of an inch. So that's going to be 1 3/4. 1.75. Well, I think this was a 7-foot too, so we're going to draw our 7-footer in here. Now I need an 8-foot to go out there. So I need to add another 1/4 inch. That's going to bring me up to 2. I know this seems like a lot of number crunching, but if you take the tape and measure and mark on here what your radiuses are, you're going to be okay. And also, I was a little sly when I drew this thing because I knew I was just going to be going 6, 7, and 8, so I could just use my 8-foot to draw the back of this, and then come over
Mhm.
here and use it for this, okay? But now I need 2 1/4, which I might not have. Oh, yes, I do. Cool. Getting a little sloppy nowadays here. All right, that is a 10.
Mm-hmm.
These little ones, we use this. That's a 10, so we use our 10 here. And that there. Let's see what we have here. What's that spot? What's that 4.5-foot radius going to be? 9-foot diameter?
9
So what's that? 1 1/8.
and 1/8, and then you'll need 1 and
1 1/8, then I'll need 1
3/8.
3/8. I've got it 1 3/8 here. I can do the back. Okay. Now let's see if I have a 1 1/8. Yeah, I do.
If not, you do it freehand, huh?
Well, I would probably get out the compass and use Bob's technique there.
Yeah.
All right, now this is I'm subtracting.
1.5.
I'm subtracting 1.5, and this was a. So I'm subtracting 3 from the diameter.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm subtracting 3/8 from 1 1/8,
5/8. No.
3/4. See if 3/4 works. No,
1 next scale.
7/8.
No.
I think it should be 3/4.
Yeah.
3/4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now top steps are always 3/8 because I know that's 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
So we draw our step at 3/8. And here, that step's going to be 3/8.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next one going to be?
An 1/8 inch bigger.
5/8.
5/8. Yeah. 1/4 inch bigger.
See, that the problem that we're running into, and the reason this sounds so confusing, is that these are all radiuses. These are all diameters on here, and we've been working with radiuses, so we have to keep doubling and dividing by 2,
Yeah, the
and
next one's 7/8.
and the next one's going to be 7/8. And I have no idea what this one's going to be here, but I will find it real quick. Maybe I won't find it so quick.
There you go.
Okay, draw that one in, and I know it's going to take 3/8 to get back down to home here, so I'll take my 3/8 and just do that. And these, I tend to draw these in kind of just like this. Okay. You'll see a lot of people draw love seats that stick out at the ends. I like mine to flush in just nicely like this. Okay. And let's put our diving board in, which is going to be,
Oh, how wide is the diving board?
I generally draw them a foot wide. And what I do is I draw, they're a little bit more than a foot wide, but I draw them a foot wide, and I think that makes, they look nice now.
You said they normally don't stick out into the water more than 1.5 feet.
Yeah, which is just about what I drew it.
Mhm.
I think I just drew it a foot, matter of fact. Yeah, you'll see pool designers that have them hanging over 8, 10 feet on the drawing, you know.
Right, yeah.
And if you don't plan, of course, then they can't walk around them.
No, there's something we didn't plan here. The diving board almost hits the fence.
Well, I know, I knew that was going to happen, George. I just, when I was thinking about the
Yeah.
design, I didn't see any way I could avoid it.
Yeah, the only thing we have to do is to say, well,
Just have to climb over the diving
Go a
board when you're
couple-
walking around the pool.
allow another 3 feet for that diving board before we do
Well,
that first. Center
The
point.
other thing, yeah, we could have moved the whole pool out 3 feet. That would have helped. Um, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the deck just come right back to the fence. So
Mhm.
you just fill in the corner there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid concrete.
Yeah. The concrete man's actually going to stay a few inches away from that fence.
Yeah.
isn't he?
Just a few. Although I've seen them pour right to fences.
No, they do that.
Use the fence as the form.
I've seen them use the fence as a form, yeah. Okay. Where the heck is my- here it is. You see how those little lines that I drew really help me now, because I always know where to start and stop my my drawings. This one might be hard. This one might be hard. Like sometimes I get generous and give them a little extra deck around the spot. Now let's take a small diameter, and at this point you can just eyeball it. See, first of all, we don't sell concrete, so the deck man is probably going to be
Yeah.
changing things, and
You sure will,
if
yeah.
anything changes on your job, it'll be the deck.
Yeah.
If anything changes on the job, it'll be the deck. Where's that big eraser? Hand me that. Oh, we don't want to forget this.
Nope.
That's Mama's tree. I'll save that. Oops. Fill in that briefcase.
And then go, wow, look at that.
Now you're at another critical point. They see the pool, they like the pool,
Mhm.
right? And now they want to know what's it cost. But you're not done.
No.
You're not done. If you stop and tell them what it costs right now, you're going to lose half of your presentation. We want to finish the drawing. So
Now this is the point where I usually
this is the
send
point
them
where
to
Dirk
the
gives them
TV
the video.
and the video, and they go watch a video while you color this.
Right.
But what I used to do, because I didn't have the video back when I was out selling, is I would start talking about other things, like escrow fund control, pumps and filters. And you have to learn how to talk and draw at the same time. Now what we're going to do is, we're going to show brick coping on this pool. I generally always show brick or flagstone coping. Flagstone coping I could be done in no time at all. Brick takes a long time. But I generally show one or the other, and if they want safety grip coping, I just write safety grip coping down. But brick shows nicely, and a lot of times when people see it, they want that. We can give them standard brick, that is the regular squared off brick that you build houses out of and fireplaces, for the same price as coping. And that's what I have on my pool, and I loved it, and I raised 3 kids and had Little Leagues and Boy Scouts and everything else in there. The Bono's brick is quite a bit more expensive. To a pool this size, it's going to add about $600–700.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bit more expensive. Some people want it. I think it's psychological. They want the rounded edge. It's psychological. If you hit your head against it, it's just as hard. But
It's easy to grip. And
I'm going to draw it in, and if worst comes to worst, they get they can go back to safety grip coping. Now here's the way we draw it in. You take your ruler or straight edge, and I like using something transparent like the circle template here, and you lay it on that center point. Okay? And you start to rotate it, all right? Until we get straight between these 2 points. When I get straight between these 2 points, then this becomes my pivot line, okay? And I pivot on this. So while we're doing this, Gary, why don't you tell me about escrow fund control? Or do you want me to,
Well-
do you want me to talk about that while we do this?
Yeah,
To
you-
show you how I would do it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do it so that
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I read the, the material on it, which
Okay.
I think is powerful.
It's
I
very
think it's one
powerful.
of the most powerful selling tools that
It is.
we have.
The laws of the state of California says that I have to tell you about mechanics lien laws. A lot of my competitors won't discuss this topic until you're ready to sign a contract. It's our policy at Padre Pools to talk about mechanics lien laws right at the beginning so people understand how they work. And it's very simple. Anybody that we hire to work on your property, anybody that delivers something to your property, somebody that drops off a pump or a filter or a piece of equipment, they have a right to be paid by law. If I don't pay them, if Padre Pools doesn't pay them, they can sue you for payment, even though you've already paid me. Did I knock over the camera?
Yeah, you're fine now.
Even though they've already paid me. Now, you notice here where I stopped? Right there at that line. See, those are those lines that I had drawn in there before, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, they've already paid me, and I haven't paid them. What do? They go down to the county office, any county in California, well, of course it has to be the one you live in, and they file a mechanics lien. It costs $5 to do. They don't need a notary. They don't need a court order. All they have to do is go down and do it. And what's surprising is they don't even need a contractor's license. If you are an employee of a licensed contractor, you don't need to be personally licensed to file a mechanics lien. So you not only have to be concerned about whether or not the contractor pays his subcontractors, you have to be concerned about whether the subcontractor pays their employees. Or if the contractor does the work in-house, which nobody really does, then they have to pay their employees, or those employees can sue you. But even somebody that drops off a bag of sand can file a mechanics lien. That mechanics lien gets recorded on your property just like a mortgage, exactly like a mortgage. And you must satisfy that mechanics lien. And that person is the only one that can release the mechanics lien. If you don't pay them and get them to give you a lien release, which you then take down and get recorded, then they could institute a proceeding, and in that proceeding, your house is sold, they get their amount that's due to them, and their costs, whether they're legal cost or just court cost. The auction company that sells your house is going to get paid, and then you'll get what's left. But they could force the sale of your house, and and it doesn't matter. They could force it for a $10 mechanics lien. Now we know that that's never going to happen for a $10 mechanics lien. How can you protect yourself from mechanics liens? Well, one way to do it is to insist that the contractor give you lien releases as the job goes through construction. The only problem with that is you will never know all the people that could potentially lien your property. Some of the biggest liens are hidden from you. For example, the gunite man comes out, and you get a lien release from the gunite man. The gunite man's bill might be $3,000, but did the gunite man pay for the materials that were delivered out here? You don't know, and you think you have a lien release. Well, the long and short of it is that getting lien releases can be it almost takes a professional to gather lien releases, to know exactly who should be signing, who shouldn't be signing, and that sort of thing. Somebody who does it every day. And your contractor's going to say, well, I do it every day and I'll get the information for you. But of course, if he doesn't pay his bills, he doesn't want you to know that he hasn't paid his bills. There's two ways you can protect yourself from mechanics liens. The first is to get a payment and performance bond. They each cost about 3% of the contract. So a payment and performance bond will cost you about 6% of the contract. On a $20,000 pool, that would be $600 for a payment and performance bond. And they guarantee that the contractor will pay and perform their duties. The problem with them, the payment and performance bonds, is that these are like insurance companies. If something goes wrong, then they send out an adjuster. Have you ever had to deal with an insurance adjuster? Huh?
No, I haven't.
You haven't? You never had
No.
any car accidents or anything like that where insurance
No,
adjuster came in?
I've had some problems, but
Yeah.
nothing that was.
Nothing that required an insurance
No.
adjuster? Have you ever had to deal with an insurance adjuster? Well, what's their job? What's the insurance adjuster's real job?
To save the
To save the
insurance
company
company.
money.
The insurance company money, right? So they're gonna send out an adjuster, and the adjuster's gonna go to work on this thing. And they're gonna do what they have to do. Now, the problem is, I think anybody that's had car insurance has had a little fender bender where they've had to deal with an insurance adjuster. And you know that some insurance companies are just as nice as pie. And they just take care of things and everything's wonderful. Some of them are nasty to deal with. Okay? You don't find out about the insurance adjusters, the bond company adjusters, until when?
They have to collect on it.
Until you're in trouble,
Mhm.
right? So you're in trouble. That is, the contractor's gone broke or something, it hasn't paid the bills, you've got mechanics liens, and now you call out this adjuster. And the adjuster says, oh, this mechanics lien is way too much money. It's way out of proportion. We're gonna let this guy go to court and we're gonna fight. So they have the right to do that. So now all of a sudden, you have to wait. Your house is more or less in limbo while they decide to take this guy to court and fight. And they have the right to do that. So those little things could make the payment and performance bond, I mean, they work. There's no doubt about it that they work. But that's like saying, well, are all bonding companies equal? And the answer is no, they're not all equal. And the other problem with that, of course, is that you really, if nothing goes wrong, you've gained nothing by spending the money. You've essentially just taken a $600 gamble that something's going to go wrong. The other way you can protect yourself, and the law spells this out in the notice to owner that you'll be seeing later on, is through an escrow fund control. With an escrow fund control, you and the contractor open up an escrow. And you never put money into the escrow, and the contractor never takes money out of the escrow. What the contractor does is they work up a very detailed cost breakdown, showing item for item where everything is going to go. The people in the escrow company have handled thousands and thousands of similar jobs, and they go over and scrutinize this on their computers and look at the cost analysis for the job. Then, when the excavator, let's say the excavator goes out and digs the hole on the job, and the budget for that is $1,500, and the job is done, the contractor gives the excavator not a check but a voucher for $1,500 that they worked on the Jenkins job. The excavator then goes down to the fund control with proof that they did the work. If they brought stakes out, if there's a stake in the ground, they bring a receipt for the stakes. If they had a helper work, they bring a helper, they bring the helper's release. And of course, since this excavator's been doing business with the fund control and the pool company's been doing business with the escrow fund control for years, they know exactly what to look for. The excavator then signs a complete unconditional lien release that they will never lien your property, and the escrow company issues them a check out of your account. When the job is completely done and every nickel has been accounted for, and you sign a notice of completion, which happens to look like this, then contractor gets whatever's left over in that job as their profit. It's whatever's left over in the job as their profit. This
protects you from mechanics liens. It protects you from all kinds of eventualities. You know, let's suppose you're doing business with a really good company. This is my salt shaker, by the way. I'm salting the deck because a lot of contractors put a salt finish on the deck. Now, just to step out of character for a minute, you'll notice I kept you busy the whole time that I drew those bricks in. It took me a while, didn't it? But I kept you busy the whole time. It's a little skill you want to practice. Practice drawing bricks. 'Cause you'll do this a lot. Practice drawing bricks while you're talking and giving your fund control presentation. And you have to look up once in a while and make eye contact while it's going on. Okay, now I want to show you my landscaping skills.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you, in the past, and obviously you've been, working with fund control for a long time.
Sure.
Have you ever had a problem where, say, a contractor, he gets his check, he places in his voucher and he gets his check, and then Joe Schmo, who worked for the guy and helped
Didn't
him
get
out, he
paid.
didn't get paid.
Yeah.
This guy goes ahead and places a lien on the property, and the first one that's going to be notified is the homeowner.
That's right.
Now, all of a sudden, he gets this letter in the mail, and he goes
He's
right
furious.
through the roof. He says, what the hell's
Well,
going on here?
what'll happen is, of course, people will send preliminaries out too. And of course, they don't mean, that's not a mechanics lien, that's just a preliminary.
A preliminary,
And,
yeah,
and the
sure.
customers will call us on those too. We try to tell them it's going to happen, but they even get upset when that's going to happen. But to answer your question, no, I never have. And not that it's a possibility. And what you want to tell people is that if you give me a check, Pottery Pulls, and I put it in the bank, and I blow it. Go to Vegas, I buy a new car, pay my secretary, throw a company party, I blow the money and go broke. What is my penalty for that?
Well, I understand that happens a lot. And
Well, what is my penalty?
well, you're subject to a lawsuit. That's
A lawsuit.
Yeah, you're
Right.
subject to a lawsuit.
But I
Chances
have-
are you're gonna
but
go
I
Duque
haven't-
or you're
But I
gonna-
really haven't broken any laws, have
No,
I?
you haven't, no.
Haven't broken
No.
any laws. If anybody misuses escrow funds, and it's printed right on the voucher, anybody misuses escrow funds. If I give a voucher to somebody for digging a pool that they didn't really dig, right? If I give, or if somebody comes and says I paid my worker when they really didn't.
Well, the contractor would sign a lien release at that time when he
At that
receives
time,
the
when they
check.
receive it. If they say, if let's say I hire you to dig the pool,
Mhm.
and you go down to collect your voucher, and you know that the guy you had working for you hasn't been paid yet, and you're broke, you need the money. So you forge his name, or you just say, no, I worked alone, I didn't have anybody. And they say, are you sure? And you say, oh, I'm sure, my helper called in sick, it took me 2 days to dig the pool, and you make up a lie, in other
Right.
words, and they believe you, and they give you the money because they've known you for years. And it turns out your helper then goes down and files a mechanics lien, right? You can do jail time.
Well, forgery for one thing.
Well, even if you didn't forge the name, even if you just said I worked alone. But you, to misuse or misdirect escrow funds in any way, under California law is a felony. And this is a real important point to understand, is that misusing business funds is not a crime. It's stupid, but it's not a crime. And you don't go to jail for stupidity. Misusing escrow funds is a crime. You don't call your lawyer, you call the DA.
Well, the point I'm trying to make here is,
Okay.
yeah.
No, the point, I know the point you're trying to make is that.
Like, so I sign this
Yeah.
voucher and I say, the pool's dug, the hole's dug,
Yeah,
and I deserve this check here.
right.
But maybe I got a problem with Joe Schmo over here, that maybe the guy,
Your employee.
the employee didn't, there was certain, I'm not gonna tell you this, but
Yeah.
it's, this guy've had a problem with this
Mhm.
guy, and I paid him and he hasn't performed. But all of a sudden, this guy gets hot, you got a heat score over this one, Mr. Jenkins here, his job, he's gonna collect on this job, he never got paid on this job. Is he signing some kind of a paper, or are there any paperwork verifying that his helper is paid or anything? It doesn't get into, it gets into that type
His
of detail?
helper, he said his helper had to sign it
Yeah.
before he can get
Well,
the
so when he
money.
takes
He's
the
got
job
paid.
on, he's letting you know ahead of time what,
Well, what you're relying on at that point is the experience of the escrow company. okay? We don't tell them how many employees each company has that works for us, but they know, because they've been handling our jobs for almost 20 years,
Yeah.
okay? That could have, what you're saying potentially could have happened maybe the first couple of years. It couldn't happen now because Barbara and Gracie at Fund Control, I mean, they know these people. They
Right.
know our subcontractors. And they know what it takes to dig a pool. They know that a two-man crew digs a pool. They know that generally it's a two-man crew plumbing. They know,
Okay,
it's,
now I
they know it's a
understand, yeah.
one-man crew that does the steel.
Right.
They know that it's about a 10-man crew out there doing the gunning.
And you've used the same people over and over again.
Well, and
Yeah.
even when we moved up to Riverside, we hired a different gunning company, a different excavator. It would take just as many people.
Right. yeah.
So if all of a sudden, let's say we opened in Sacramento and we started digging a pool, and that guy came down looking for money, and he said, I dug a pool alone, they'd call me up and they'd say, Rick, this guy says he dug the pool all by himself. And I might say, well, in Sacramento they use backhoes and a guy can do that. Or I might say, no, he didn't dig the pool by himself. Get the lien release from the helper.
Right.
So that's kind of, you know, that's a little bit on the relationship that we have with them.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking these questions is just not because the customer or the client's going to ask me these
Yeah,
questions.
you-
I just, for my own
Yeah.
satisfaction, I'm trying to figure out the depth and how far this thing
Yeah.
goes. You know?
Now, what they don't do are field inspections. They do not do field inspections. The escrow company does not. So the escrow company is not guaranteeing the quality of the work.
Right.
All they're guaranteeing is that the work was indeed done. If the customer is not happy with the quality of the work, and depending on the customer, you may or may not want to make a big issue out of it, they can call up and say, well, they came out here and they laid the brick on the pool. I'm not happy with the way the brick looks. Would you hold the brickman's voucher? And they can do it. They can put a hold on everything. And unfortunately, sometimes, you know, that's happened once or twice over the years. And when they do that, that kind of puts a hold on the whole thing. But again, it's better that it happens then, you know,
Then when it's all
than
done.
later on. Okay, I can draw 2 plants, but I draw a lot of them.
Yeah.
And this makes for a good drawing. We're still not done with this drawing. We're getting close, but we're not done with the drawing yet. And I'll show you my 2 plants. Okay. I learned from a landscaper once that draw plants in groups of 3 or 5, but never even numbers. So stay away from even numbers, stay with odd numbers. So
Yeah.
I tend to draw a lot of pretzels. And
Right.
so here's my first plant. I start off with a center point, and I do use circle templates to draw the plant. And I just sort of bounce around like that. And I draw a few squiggles in here and in here. Plant number 1. Find my center point, and you'll see that I'm coming up with sort of a circle. Plant number 2. Find a center point, and we'll actually go over here and plant number 3. Okay. Now I go to my smaller plant, and I'm going to put them right along here. And my smaller plant, let's see, and I can use any size I want. Now I draw across like that. Looks like jacks, right? And then I come back and make little points out of each of these, going around, and then I put little things in here. If you're sloppy, that's fine. I'm going to do another one. Cross. Gazinga, gazinga. And there's nothing that says these have to be symmetric or perfect. All right? You have just seen the sum total of my landscaping skills. And this is a ficus bassatitis, and this is a Frelnicore.
There you go.
My 2 favorite plants. And sometimes if I'm talking about fund control, like, you know, we've been going on fund control, I'll just start drawing, and I'll end up with 50 or 60 of these things because I want to finish my discussion on fund control, and so I just keep going on the drawing. Dirk, do you have a dark green pencil? And do you have the chalk? Okay. This is called, not the color I want, that's a brown.
Those terracotta.
The color you want is called terracotta. you essentially only need 3 or 4 colors. You need a terracotta, you need a green, you need a yellow, and yellows last a long time, and you need a tan color that's usually called sand. It says sand on here, so we need this, we need this, we need this. Do you have the green? Oh, this is beautiful. He's got, do you have a dark green pencil like this?
I've got a bunch of colored
That's okay.
pencils, and
This
I
is fine.
probably do have
This
those
is fine.
colors in there.
Yeah, you probably do. All right. Now, here's how we draw the bricks. Darken a few.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of go randomly. Sometimes make them close together. Most of the times you're making them far apart. You certainly don't want to count how many you darken. Now, we haven't gotten into raised bond beam or anything like that, but if you can get the skills down to do a drawing like this, this is really going to serve you well. Now that I've darkened a few, I'll then take this and I will shade the entire coping area with the terracotta.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting this on video? Oh, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be famous. Now, most of the times we put tile across the spa wall, and I should have drawn it that way, but you can put brick across the spa wall too. And in fact, I prefer it that way. Maybe I draw it that way because it's some kind of subliminal thing. Okay, we are now done with the terracotta, and see how that gives it a little bit of a textured look. Now, here's your yellow pen. Notice that the yellow pencil is the longest pencil, and that's because you don't use them much. You do this, and you put a light in the spot too. And that's it. So these lads, you get thousands of pull out of one yellow pencil. Okay, now here's our tan color. Now what I do is I go around the edge of the deck. Now a lot of people will put in a tan colored deck. That's very popular. Some people leave in a natural colored deck, but we draw it this color because again, it tends to set things up. And I go around the pool. I'm not trying to be perfect. Bob likes to draw I didn't shade in the bricks here. Bob likes to draw a lot of expansion joints in. I don't.
That's up to the deck people anyway.
It's
where
up
they
to the
wanna put
deck
it.
people anyway, but
Yeah.
they can make a drawing look nice. Bob does a nice job drawing the expansion joints in. But I very seldom put them in. I think maybe it's just laziness on my part. Then I shade the deck. Filling in the voids. Yeah. Okay. Now my green pencil. My green pencil, I'm going to just go over these plants. And again, I'm not trying to be super artistic here. I'm just trying to fill in the voids. On these, actually I like a pencil a little darker than this, but we'll make do. These, I just try to accent the lines that I've drawn. Again, I'm not trying to be dead on. Try this one. That's a pretty hard, yeah, this is better. Oh. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. What on earth? This is a chalk pencil. You can also just buy chalk. What you do with your chalk pencil is you highlight the outline as heavy as you can get it. You'll generally squeak and the people will go nuts when it squeaks. I should have drawn a plant back there. See, Duck does this when people are watching the video. And this is our blue. Get plenty of it on there. It may look blue to you, but it's pure gold. Now we take the most sophisticated tool that we have, the finger, and you spread the green around. And fill in the void. Make sure you always do the green first. The very last thing you want to do is this.
Looks good.
Very quick.
And you take the drawing, and you put it in front of Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins, and you say, is that the pool you'd like to have in your backyard? Or how'd you like to have that pool in your backyard? And Mary, you'll be able to tell by their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it magic when you put the blue in? It's like,
No,
It looks like a
water.
swimming pool.
Just-
There's no doubt about it.
it just, doesn't that look like
Yeah.
$1 million compared to what we had 10 minutes ago? Did you see me using any terrifically artistic skills? I mean, I'm a recovering engineer. I've got no artistic skills at all. But I've taught myself how to use a compass, how to connect circles. If you can learn how to connect circles with a compass the way I just showed you, you're 90% of the way home. More than 80% of the salespeople that you will be competing with cannot do that drawing. They cannot do that drawing. What some of them can do, for example, one of your big competitors' mission pools, is they will measure the yard, go back to the office, and they'll have somebody else draw it. And if you guys want to do that, and have me draw the pools, or Bob draw the pools, or Dirk draw the pools, that's fine for your first couple jobs. If you're not confident and you want to come in, or you want to draw it here with our supervision, and we'll kind of guide you through it, that's fine too. It-
I think what I would like to do on the first couple anyway is go out and get all the dimensions
and
and
come
everything
in
else.
here, yeah.
And come in here and if it's gonna
We'll work it
take me an hour and a half to do it, then fine,
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna be sitting in front of them and blow the cell, but
Yeah.
I'd be able to go back out there.
You'll find that people are very patient with you. It's
Yeah.
selling pools is a wonderful thing. It's a great product. It's happiness the whole way. And let me tell you what happens next is they look at this and one of your strongest buy signs is when they say, Johnny, get in here. Okay, one of the greatest buy signs you can get is when they call another member of the family, come here, I want you to look at this. All right, this means, they love it, right? And so the kids come in. And I try to prepare people for this, because the kids are going to come in and they're going to look at it and they're going to say one thing. They're not going to say it's great, looks nice. They're going to say one thing. And guess what that one thing they're going to say is? They're going to say, how deep is it? And no matter what you tell them, you could tell them 5 feet, you could tell them 8 feet, you could tell them 50 feet deep. Then they're going to say, is that all?
Yeah, you said,
Trust me, that's going to happen. Teenagers, kids, that's all they care about. How deep is it? And no matter what you say, we're gonna have to keep this one under 200 feet. Is that all? They always say that, and it's a kick. The kids will come in, and the mother thinks it's a beautiful design. She thinks it's the pool of her dreams, and the kids, all they care about is how deep it is. But that is the most basic swimming pool there is. It's going to be economical to build. It's going to be easy to build because we've thought about tractor, we've thought about equipment location, we've thought about location in the yard. We took out a slab that didn't belong there, and we took a really weird yard and we made it into something else. Is that the only pool that would fit in the yard? No. But we had total control, didn't we? We could have erased, we could have moved, we could have flipped it. We could have done anything we wanted. The pool came out exactly the dimensions that we planned when we started. And it's just not that hard to do. It's just not that hard to do. Okay, let's measure the pool. And that's where this tool comes in. You only use this tool once a night. If you look at this, I'll show you guys. It has a 1/8 inch, a 1/4, and a 1/2 inch scale. On it, see?
Mm-hmm.
Every time the wheel rotates, it ticks off. Now, each of these marks on here is 2 feet. And I don't know why they did it, but,
Tilt it this way a little bit.
okay, I don't know why they did it, but as you come in, you'll see it, the heavy marks are at 8 feet. So you have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. Right? So each of these little marks is 2 feet. These are good, but they're not perfect. Okay? So your tendency is you're going to want to round down. And I'm telling you, for your own budgets and your own commissions, round up. All
Yeah.
right? Because I have never in 20 years built a pool that was smaller than the measured dimensions. They've all been bigger. and sometimes a lot bigger, and it's frustrating because you and I have both planned on making a certain amount of money on it, and we're both going to lose out. The hardest part about using these is remembering where you started. So pick a good spot like the diving board or the spa.
Corner
I'm going to
spa.
pick the edge of this step,
Okay, you do the inside.
and you're going to do the water line.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, every once in a while you'll find a salesman do the outside. And of course, that adds to the perimeter. And you can see that I can go around. I can do this faster. You'll see some of these wheels for sale that have a real short, stubby handle on them. It doesn't stick up as much as this one that I have here. Okay, now here we want to go around the spa. Okay, we include the spa as part of the perimeter. The spa wall is the wall that has water on both sides. Okay? The perimeter of the pool is the water is the amount that has water on one side. Okay? So the perimeter includes any wall that has water on one side. And this pool is, you tell me.
92? No.
Yeah, you got almost 96 feet.
Hold it right
Wow.
there so I can see it here. Look at
He just moved it. You touch this wheel or you
Oh, I
touch
did?
this, it moves it, yeah.
It was 96.
It was 92.
92?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put it on there, let's see it.
Okay, yeah.
Let me get in there. Get a good shot of that there. There you go.
Okay.
See that?
Now, my friends, I'm afraid I have to turn this over. And we write 92 up here.
Okay.
You'll notice it doesn't say perimeter there. All right, and there's a reason for that. I prefer not to have the words perimeter. Now, we know we drew this pool 16 by 32, but we made it longer when we put the spa on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, technically, you could say this pool is 36 foot long by measuring it. Or you could just say 32. It doesn't matter. We don't care what the length and width is. If the customer wants to say, I've got a 36 foot long pool, you could just say, which would you prefer that I write down, 32 or 36? Because it doesn't matter. We don't care. We don't
What do you
charge.
mean?
Huh?
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's 36 foot long if we measure across the spot.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Actually, 36 and a half. Okay. But it's 32 foot long if we measure from end to end, right? Because that's the way we designed it. So you can write down 36 or 32. It doesn't matter. We know that it's 16 wide and say 32 long. The depth is 3 foot 6 inches to 8 foot 0 inches. We've got a diving board here. The spa wall, we know, is 9 feet. I say, Rick, you didn't have to measure that. You didn't measure that. I say, well, I don't know. I didn't have to measure it because I used a 4.5 foot circle to draw it. So I know it's approximately the diameter. And this wheel isn't good enough to measure the extra bow. We're going to put 5 jets in this spa. We're going to put a 2 horsepower pump. Okay. We're going to put a Triclops 300 filter. And we're going to put a 250,000 BTU heater. MBTU means 1,000 BTUs. Okay. We're going to put a 6 foot jump board. We're going to put no slide. We have no raised bond beam. A raised bond beam is where one side of the pool is higher than the other. Okay. Now, for example, we could put a step up right here and put another step up right there and raise the whole back of that pool 6 inches. Or we could put a step up here and a step up there and raise the spa 6 inches. We could put 2 steps here and 2 steps there, raise the spa 12 inches, okay? And all those would be nice things to do, and we could talk about how much extra those would cost as, you know, as we get working on the budget. We have a choice of 3 plaster colors, white, black, or gray. Right? The black and the gray each add about $475 to the price. And they mottle. They get discolored, okay? Badly discolored. Actually, the white pools get discolored too, but all the discoloration is white, so you don't notice it. There's white buildup on the sides of a pool, right? But you notice that on a black pool. So why would you want a black pool? Okay. Most common response you're going to hear is, I want it because the pool will be warmer. And that's just not, it's one of those things that is technically true, but not practically true. In order for it to warm, in order for the black bottom to make the pool warmer, the pool has to get a lot of sunlight. It has to be in pure sunlight. There can't be any shade in that backyard at all. And most yards have a little bit of shade. And it's really a lousy heater. It just doesn't do that much. So why do you want a black, why would somebody want a black pool? Because a black pool, if you look at these black pools up there, those two, or a gray pool,